can do this.
An elite aim.
Hey everyone, I wanted to talk briefly about the Avengers beta. I follow the Avengers games because, I mean, let's face it, I may have spent a little bit too much time playing their Diablo clone, and so I think I get a pretty good idea of what I like about Marvel games and what I don't like about Marvel games. And quite honestly, with Crystal Dynamics' Avengers game, I really think they brought forward a pretty good product. Crystal Dynamics is quite well known for their Tomb Raider series. Just looking at some of the environments that came out of that game, you really see the talent transfer over well into this. Gorgeous, stunning environments, really good animations. If we're talking about just separating those artistic assets in this game, then I can tell you 100% Crystal Dynamics did a very faithful representation of the Marvel series. There's a very nice aspect of this that they didn't dumb it down, they didn't pad the sharp corners of every table, worrying that this game wasn't going to appeal to everyone. It's a very superhero faithful game that I think that a lot of people would enjoy. There's a lot of stages that you'll see where the animations kind of just make you fall in love with the level. There's a lot of artistic planning, triggers, a lot of, let's call it scenic advancements that just make playing through a stage so much more fun. The animations of the actual characters play a lot into their design strengths, which I think is pretty cool. I mean, we're watching the B-roll footage of Hulk. You're going to see some B-roll footage of Captain America, who I thought was going to be super cool. If you actually just watch right here, the first move that they're going to show you is Steamroller, where, he ping-pongs every single person in the room, and you're like, wow, that's amazing. How could this get any better? And then you walk up and you see that it did next to no damage. So there are some design worries that I have, but if you look at it, they definitely tried to find more like a Arkham artistic style, a big shout out to Rocksteady Games for kind of dictating what a cinematic fight should be like. And just remember, this is literally the tutorial to the game. Everything that you see here is just showing you skills that you need to learn, button configurations, each character's own individual style, whether it's blocking, whether it's enraging, so on and so forth. You do really get a sense of plot advancement as well as just being a typical tutorial mode. They do use this opportunity to introduce new characters like Ms. Marvel, Kamala Khan. As well, the first enemy shown is Taskmaster, which is cool. One of the things I didn't like about the demo though is they show all sorts of mechanics that you'll probably expect in the game, and the one that I kind of just dread seeing more often than not is QuickTime events. QuickTime events are really good if you want to guide a player through a cinematic fight, but realistically all we're doing right here is just like punching, so you're just tapping left mouse button or pressing F. It was cool, but I'd rather be focusing on what's going on screen. So after the first section of the tutorial, you come to understand that the device that blew up on the airship released kind of like toxic fumes that caused mutations and or death in the population below. I don't remember what city it was, but the long and short of it is it became a big political issue, and they used the fact that it was a political issue to very vaguely and confusingly blame everything on the Avengers. And of course, everything was turned up to a 9. The city was in ruins, panic ensued, chaos ensued. Everyone is worried that someone is hiding in the shadows, and so the Avengers disbanded. Yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense seeing how they are the ones helping society, but this is the plot point that introduces AIM, Advanced Idea Mechanics, and they are of course the not evil corporation. So after the Backstreet Boys went Splitsville, Bruce Banner and Kamala Khan meet up in the forest. It was explained by 2 paragraphs of text, so they'll probably have to explain it a little better in the actual game. But this is where they kind of give you the environmental exploration sections. You'll see that every section has kind of key markers for leaping, climbing. They kind of keep you pretty on leash to where you can go and where you can explore. So think of it more like Mass Effect corridors, even more like A-Day maps than any sort of like open world exploration. But around the world, you'll find hidden caches. They'll have resources, they'll have loot. So you can probably see on the screen there's the gear loadout. You can also see that each character gets a major artifact and 2 minor artifacts. So this is kind of that Diablo loot grinding gear kind of setup that you're going to be expecting. Most importantly, a lot of what Crystal Dynamics wants you to do is to go off the beaten path, usually just out of sight or maybe in a hidden corner or behind a hidden wall. You'll see chests that you can open, and those chests vary in rarity. I would say the gold ones that you see are either harder to find or in very key areas, but items in this game are quite simplistic. They're basically just a substat as well as scaling your hero's power, and until we see the end game, I'm not going to comment too much on that. So one of my gripes, as well as one of the gripes that has been plaguing a lot of the reviews that you'll see about this game, is just how terribly unoptimized it is. I have a pretty decent rig, and I didn't think that anything would be tasking my 2080 too much until I realized that I was really only getting 60 frames per second in 1440p on Ultra Mode. On top of that, when I was playing in Ultra Mode, I would crash usually anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes because of what appeared to be either a display or RAM memory leak. So just take into consideration that they recommend the high preset for both quality to performance issues. So the first thing that I tried to do was make it look at least a little bit better. So I removed motion blur. Quite honestly, at 60 frames per second, I didn't like it. I play at 120 hertz, so I try to get as close to 120 FPS as possible. So I tried to do the easiest options to turn off that should be the biggest performance. Like I turned off SAO, and so we'll go back in and we'll look and see that our FPS barely changed. I think we were sitting at around like 57 before. Maybe we got 1 FPS. So I decided to forego everything and drop it down to lowest and we'll start walking around, and you'll see that it's kind of night and day. All the shadows are gone, all the dynamic lighting is gone. It looks just crappy, but I didn't get the FPS change. So I went and changed my display resolution down to 1080p. And that's when we finally, on the lowest of all settings, got 120 frames per second inside just this little HUD area. So I'm really looking forward to these optimizations, whether it's an NVIDIA driver patch, whatever. Please, Square Enix, please, Crystal Dynamics, don't ruin what I think is the only good thing that you have going for this game at the moment, because there's a lot that I really want to talk about that goes above and beyond the artistic design. Specifically, the multiplayer is a disaster right now. When you first get past the second part, I guess with Camilla and Dr. Banner, you get opened up to kind of like a mission hub. So the first part that you get to go into is the harm room, kind of similar to the X-Men's danger room where everything's fun and nothing can hurt you and have a good time. So you go through, I think, 10 waves of monster battles, which doesn't take too long. And these are probably the best times to test out all the skills you want to use. Like, I got really happy using my sweep kick, but it was definitely during this time, while I was cleaning house, that I noticed what my partners were doing. So for example, if you see here, you can see the Hulk attempting to kill this guy that we can kill with 2 ranged punches, and he's struggling. Bruce Banner isn't going to be able to kill anything. You see Iron Man knock that guy off, and Black Widow took a shot and then got confused and decided to do a super sexy pose while everyone else ran towards them. The actual bugs in the game were pretty limited. I think this was the only weird glitch that I saw with the physics, otherwise everything else was pretty tame. But just going back to talk about multiplayer, even setting up for missions, there seems to be some sort of either server delay or server error. As you can see, I tried to queue up for condition green. You know, everything was set up, everything was going well. The whatever pre-ad lib was going on. We could see all of our characters. If we wanted to, we could go in and check our inventory, check our characters. And so I was ready to go in and do this iconic mission for the Hulk. But as this conversation kind of just continues on, nothing's happening. We're literally just sitting here and doing absolutely nothing. And it turns out when you are stuck in a screen like this and you're not able to do anything, escape, the pause menu button doesn't work. So all you can do is Alt F4 out of the game and then start back over. I did on multiple occasions try and attempt to get multiplayer to work. As you can see, people just kind of flicker in and out without being able to join or start the mission. Using the same mission, Condition Green, which I found out that you need to be the Hulk to play. Of course, this key caveat here, being the Hulk, also means that they should probably tell you that you can't go into select a hero and select someone who you already have equipment and properly leveled up to be in this level appropriate area. Surprisingly, while I was doing this, someone was actually able to join my game and didn't immediately get kicked out. So I sat there, as you can see me, waiting for the other 3 and 4 slot to fill up with characters, which at some point I just kind of gave up. And I was like, I am not going to risk this opportunity to not sample multiplayer. So I started the mission. And lo and behold, you have to wait a minute to get this stupid mission going. But you know what? That gives you time for other players to join. So you know what? I was willing to sit there for a minute. So I counted down, waited patiently. It was definitely a long time considering nobody else was going to be joining our game. But as you can see, we got down 4 seconds, 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second. What the fuck happened? Oh, what's that? Nothing the fuck happened? Well, what could be worse? Well, launch is still going, so why don't we just sit here and wait for something to happen? Or, better yet, you know what we should do? We'll start the goddamn timer over again. So I was like, okay, maybe, who knows, we didn't get the right server, I'm the host, everything should be going, so we're just gonna sit here, watch it, count down, get it going, we're gonna be ready, this is gonna be the time, we're going to play some fucking multiplayer. And so we get it. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Cocksuckers. That is the only word I can use to describe sitting here like a stupid moron. And look, another timer. Oh, thank God there's another timer. I guess I can just sit around and play in my inventory screen while nothing is happening. Well, why don't we take a look at the one part of the game that is fully implemented and has no bugs. Hey, look, it's cosmetics. You can be a suited Hulk, you can be ripped shirt Hulk, you can be normal green Hulk, you can be the green Hulk that most people remember from like comics and cartoons and stuff. You could be blue Hulk, I guess, if you really wanted to. And then everything else is just kind of like either palette changes. The one that I actually do like, not Splintered, but it's the skeleton one. I mean, like, Possessed is kind of cool, I guess. So if we look at something like Emotes, this is where the design team like super dropped the ball. Like, oh, okay, a slight shifting of neck, no sounds, no nothing. I'm jerking around here because it's just preview emote. But honestly, like, those kind of movements aren't going to be any different than like the idle animations. So we should probably talk about how you obtain these. Most of the ones that you're going to specifically pick out are going to come through the marketplace. Casual Black Widow, Froggy Hat, Kamala, older style with the circle chest Iron Man, strangely Latino Hulk with purple pants, I guess is the key thing here. Chroma Lux, I mean, that looks okay, he's nice and shiny. Fear itself, this one was kind of weird. I think this is more like a Felicia Hardy, Black Cat kind of outfit, full physics and all. So we start looking at all of the characters, and the first thing that I would say is that the design team was either very constricted in their designs, or we are dealing with people who just have like the worst design choices of all. Like this emote is the Hulk smelling his pits. Like, why would you put that in a multiplayer game? And so when I started to look at Iron Man's costumes, it really hit to me that I didn't know whether I should take this game seriously or just take it as silly. Like, to me, the coolest looking outfit is probably either like the super chrome one or the armorless one, because if you go and look at the emotes, like these emotes, they're kind of cool, but they're super silly. Like, they're not heroic poses. Like, look, here's the paparazzi one. All that happens is in the front of the armor, there's just like little flashlights. And so it's just kind of lame to me. And when we look at Black Widow, it's like, yes, okay, Black Widow does have the one operative look, but then everything else is just like dress me up Barbie. I didn't like it. Plus, for that matter, it feels different. It feels like each character has their own different layer or like application method for these costumes, because lo and behold, I selected 4 heroes, we all went in for a mission, the door drops down, Kamala jumps out, oh, and look who we have in the background, textureless Black Widow. You know, I thought it was just kind of weird that maybe I was seeing an NPC in the background, until I started walking up and seeing that even Black Widow didn't want to be seen. Like, every time you approached her, she would just like try and run off. But eventually you get close enough that she stops moving, and yeah, hair flashing in and out, no clothes, she's just in a black suit, she has 2 little things on her back, and look, textureless. So weird, just like the base model. So prepare to have some of your cosmetics not show up, because look at Iron Man, look at Hulk, they have no issues with their character, at least not that I can see. Another little silly thing that I ran into was during this alpha threat training complex. I thought it was quite hilarious. Kamala walks in, big goofy grin on her face, looking around, smiling, and then laser beams. Ka-chow. I just found it hilarious that she got basically execution shot right at the beginning of the mission. Each of these missions, in the beta at least, they feel like they're not meant to be more than like maybe 5 to 10 minutes long, which does feel like kind of a fun jump in, jump out, do it when you can do it conveniently. But also I would like to see a lot more substantial quests. Hopefully they incorporate some sort of raid. They definitely have like the big monsters with the big HP pools. It seems like they have a lot of mechanics that would turn out to be like a very solid end of mission boss. And this isn't even including all of the cool bosses like Taskmaster or MODOK, who has yet to be seen. But the one thing that I would say complicates gameplay is the talent tree. I've slowed this down a bit because I forgot to take good footage of the talent tree, but you can see instead of getting actual talents that build up your skills, you have this move list talent tree that you use to pick the skills that you want to use. So for example, in earlier shots you saw the leg sweep, and to me that looked like a super cool AoE move. You know, I also had the whirling wallop, which is a knock up into the air when you're doing a X combo attack and you decide to hold X. So a lot of these seem pretty cool. It does seem kind of weird to have each move unlockable. To me, it should have been like an actual progress system with at least most of the combos available to you. I just feel like there's going to be a ton of people who will look up the 3 best moves for each character and instantly gravitate towards that, and not bother to learn all of the super combos, maybe the more safe play styles. But who knows, it's an online game, it's an RPG, it's gonna happen whether I like it or not. The ones that I did pick didn't seem too apparent, like it wasn't like, oh, I just figured out the best move ever. And that's probably one of the downsides that I would say, is I didn't have a clear progression path, aside from just picking whatever skill looked the coolest. So while I would pick something like Catapult Kick, I would still be stuck in the fray doing my same light attacks, trying to get something to happen. So maybe if they did something like a release video, or, you know, like a follow-up just to show the mechanics, because I think a lot of people are going to get the wrong impressions about this beta, maybe just like I might be having the wrong impressions about this beta. because I definitely came into this game thinking that I was going to be getting a AAA, mostly story mode game, when what the beta makes me think is that it's a very compartmentalized game as a service. And that's kind of off-putting. You know, I think we have a lot of good features that come out of games as a service, such as continual updates, you know, and constant content while the attention is there. But I think we also get into these really weird situations where all people really want to do is sell a battle pass and cosmetics. And realistically, this game went from being like a kind of cool, deep storyline to just like an episodic dungeon crawler, which, I don't know, I have mixed feelings about. Like, this is supposed to be, in my opinion, a half stress test. I'm not saying that this was a completely open beta, but it definitely went towards the exclusive club known as to probably people who just signed up for Intel's newsletter. Like, I got 2 keys and then they gave out friends keys, so I consider this the stress test, which they failed, because if you look now, the game crashed and I lost all my progress in the dungeon and had to start all over. Another and final comment that I want to make, just because I don't really know how to feel about it, is these random chests that are scattered out across the maps. Sometimes, like I said, they're in hidden areas. Others, it feels like it's a skill testing chest that you need to get up to, because I literally tried every platform in this area trying to get up onto that balcony to get that chest. You know, I changed my size, used my alt, tried to do everything to gain leverage to get all the way over, and then in a surprise frustration, I figured out that the fire escape over here is climbable, but then when I got up here, I struggled like no one would ever believe, trying to just jump off in an opposite direction. And so, what did I get for 20 minutes of struggling trying to get this chest? A 1-star green item that was not an upgrade whatsoever. So the question you're going to be asking yourself if you've made it this far into my video is, should I buy this game or not? And my answer is yes. But the real question isn't whether you should buy this game, but when you should buy this game. And as it stands right now, I would not pre-order this game on 3 major reasons. Reason number 1, I don't have confidence in the itemization. This is the same way that we got burnt on Anthem. This is the same way that we got burnt on The Division 2. Everything looks cool, but if you're only looking at the power level of each item, the actual items itself can be super frivolous or super annoying to collect, right? So if we are looking for specific substats and the game is just processing that you're going to get 3 pieces of loot every time you go through one of these circles, then I am going to be super frustrated in your endgame cycle, and nobody's going to stick around in the endgame. Number 2, I personally hate season passes. So this game runs on the battle pass system. That's how free-to-play players can collect coins, unlock all the progression that other players would, while still giving an opportunity for people who just don't have the time to play to unlock Mexican Hulk. You know, the choice is yours to whether or not you spend money in this game. Stop blaming other people for your problems, but I don't find a battle pass system a fun mechanic. This is not something that should be the emphasis of focus in a game for any other reason aside from drawing in whales and costume collectors. Thirdly, I need to know what is going to be happening in the end game. Are there going to be raids? Are there going to be legendary quests? Is there going to be something more than just chasing the highest dungeon and repeating it on end forever and ever? To me, that isn't the recipe for a good game. So I'd really hope that they release some sort of video, follow-up announcement, or at least get some Let's Players to go through and show them what the game is going to be like, or what their intentions are, so that we can give some community feedback. But I am going to leave it at that. Thank you for watching. I hope you found it enjoyable. Please help out the channel by subscribing, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.